Hello and welcome to Extra Credit with me, Teacher Michael. This is a podcast made by online educators for online educators. Hello and welcome back to Season 2 of the Extra Credit Podcast. I am your host, Michael Venn, and I am so excited to kick off Season 2 today. This is sort of a surprise that I'm springing on everyone. I didn't let everybody know that the podcast was returning today, but it is. This is it's a sneak attack. That's what we're doing here. A little bit of a sneak attack. And we are going to be continuing in Season 2 our conversation with a whole bunch of teachers who are teaching English on the internet. As I said in the intro, this is a podcast made by online educators for online educators. And there is so much knowledge in this community of online teachers that I want to spread. You know, I don't have all the knowledge, but I speak to a whole bunch of very smart, intelligent, thoughtful teachers, and I'm really excited to share some of those conversations with you this season. And my first guest is Nancy Taylor. Some of you may know Nancy Taylor. She is an online teacher with VIPKid. She also works as a brand ambassador. She is a rock star recruiting teacher, and she just has so much to share and so much to offer everyone that she comes in contact with. She is also a YouTuber. That's how I first was made aware of Nancy Taylor and the things that she does online. She provides so much valuable information through her YouTube channel, and she's starting to do, I don't know the right word for it, a training course, an online training course. Anyway, she will explain that to you later on in this podcast. So, number one, I want to answer this question. Who is this episode for? Of course, this is for anyone who is teaching online, anyone who is interested in teaching online, but this is also going to be particularly relevant for anyone who is trying to build a personal brand on the internet, whether it's around teaching or some other subject. Nancy offers a lot of insight into how you can start building a presence online, how you can take the skills that you have, turn them into something of value for someone else, and ultimately start building a business around the skill sets that you already have. Before we get into the interview, just a couple housekeeping notes. Number one, if you don't already follow me on Instagram, I would love it if you did do that. That's how I connect with so many teachers in the online world, is through Instagram. So you can find me there at teacher__Michael. Thing number two, I thought I had a thing number two, but I actually don't think that I do. So I'm going to get out of the way here. I'm going to press play on my interview with Nancy Taylor, and I really hope you enjoy it. And to that end, if you do enjoy it, it's really helpful to the podcast if you can jump into iTunes and leave a rating, leave a review, let other people know what you've been enjoying about this podcast. And of course, if you're new here, welcome. So without further ado, this is episode 1 of season 2 of the Extra Credit Podcast with Nancy Taylor. Nancy, I have to start off the podcast, first of all, by thanking you so much for joining me on the podcast. You are kicking off season 2 of the Extra Credit Podcast, and I'm super happy that you decided to sit down and have a little chat with me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Super fun. I'm like a big fan of podcasts, so to be on one and to be on yours is really special. So I'm excited.
I love it. Well, I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes. I never know where these podcasts are going to end up. I just kind of wing it, and I like to keep things conversational. So I thought that maybe we could start off. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of online teachers who know who you are. I'm sure there's also listeners who don't know who you are. So why don't we start things just by having you introduce yourself to the audience, and also I love knowing where you are in the world.
Yeah. So I am in Utah. I'll start where I am. And we've been here for, I don't know how many years. Many years. We grew up here. My husband and I grew up here, and we've kind of lived in Oregon and Arizona. We've lived all over the West Side. So we are back home. And I've been a VIPKid teacher for almost 4 years. And I started teaching, oh my goodness, the years are just adding up. I'm getting so old, Michael. It's awesome. Are you 30, Michael? Am I older than you?
I'm over 30.
Okay, well, okay, you don't have to disclose your age on here. But anyways, I'm just gonna say my background is in education. So I am a teacher. I've taught in the mainstream classroom. I did that for 5 years before I was pregnant with my daughter, and that's when I decided to jump into the online world. I was always trying to find a job that could travel with my husband and I. Like I said, we've lived in multiple states, and as he was doing his flight training, he's a pilot, and so as he was getting his training, I was just kind of floating around with him, picking up different teaching jobs. So when I found online, it was crazy because at first it was really slow. I didn't make a lot of money. I didn't get a lot of bookings. And then all of a sudden it took off. And when it took off, I realized this is something that I need to share with other stay at home moms, others that are trying to be home with their kids. It just was like a green light that I needed to share this. So I started a YouTube channel and I just shared my classroom. I shared my props, my fast finishers, just things that had helped me as I was transitioning to the online classroom, because there is kind of that growing phase where you're learning how to take your teaching skills from your background and in teaching into the online, and especially in teaching ESL. There's some big differences there. So I was trying to share, and I did my YouTube channel with multiple goals in mind. I wanted to, number one, learn, and then number two, I wanted to help. And both of those have served me really well. Actually, they've come full circle in where I've created this brand and business where I do a lot of recruiting, I do a lot of coaching, and I'm currently now expanding my brand where I will coach current teachers on their own brand and recruiting. So it just has kind of grown with me and with my own experience. And as I've learned more and gained more, I'm able to help more people, I feel. So that's kind of me. I don't know if I covered everything. I have two kids. Did I cover that?
You covered a lot, and there's certainly like I've got so many questions about a lot of those different areas, but I want to just stick with the YouTube stuff for a little bit and ask you. So you said that your intention initially was to learn and to help. So did you want to learn YouTube or learn how to make videos? Was that something that you already knew how to do? Like not everyone can vlog and edit videos, right off the bat. So what part were you like excited about learning?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I always wanted to do a YouTube channel. I love to watch them. I just think they're so interesting. I love watching vlogs. I love watching other um, entrepreneurs or others that are teaching me skills that I'm very interested in. I love learning about YouTube. I love learning about social media. It's just crazy how you find kind of that stuff that you're passionate about, and that's what you start watching. So when I started my YouTube channel, I wanted to share like my family, and I wanted to share how I worked from home. But I also, what I really wanted to learn was, okay, if I'm doing a video on ESL teaching strategies, I really need to know my stuff. So then I would look it up, I would research. And as I was researching and finding all the background behind TPR, I came to find that I was really learning and doing a better job myself because I wanted to present the information correctly and in the best way that I possibly could. So that's where I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn the content that I was teaching. But along the way, I've learned a lot about editing videos, how to market, and I've come to find that I'm actually very interested in that as well. And at first, that wasn't my goal. I wanted to learn like the ESL gear and all that stuff. So that's kind of what I wanted to learn. Did I answer your question? Was that it?
Yeah, 100%. So just to follow up on that, I'm curious, like who are the people that you were looking to that got you excited about marketing and YouTube analytics or building a personal brand? Like, was there someone or some people in particular that you were like that really got you fired up about that part of it?
Yes. Yep. So I was teaching for that first year, and then I started to do the recruiting. And as I started to do the recruiting, it was because there was a Beijing trip. And so I thought, I have this YouTube channel, and I'm going to share these videos that I'm already sharing with those that I'm coaching, because I came to find I was having the same Skype meetings over and over. And I thought there's got to be a better way. I have to be able to make one video and service thousands. I didn't think thousands at the time, but I thought like I could service 10 people in one video rather than doing the one-on-one time, because time is so precious, especially with two young ones. I just knew that my time was so limited. So with that, as I started sharing those videos, I saw that there was such a market, and that's kind of how the recruiting came. And then as I started recruiting, it's just this last year when I thought, you know what? I feel like I've created this brand kind of on accident, not knowing. I didn't know who my like ideal customer or who I was talking to, your ideal avatar, all that stuff. I didn't know what the terminology was. So I started listening to Sunny Leonard Doozy talks a lot about YouTube. Do you know who she is?
I do. Yeah, I love Sunny.
Yes, yeah. So I got her course. I learned YouTube for bosses. So I've like been really investing this year. I've been purchasing courses and all this good stuff to learn and to better myself in my knowledge in branding and in business. So I got her course, and that kind of helped with a lot of YouTube, how to find keywords in your titles, how to find keywords as you put them in your description box, and really it helps new YouTubers to get your channel off the ground. Because I know a lot of teachers will say, okay, I'm going to do YouTube, and maybe this can help a lot of the listeners. They'll say, where do I start? How do I get people watching my videos? And I always say you have to be consistent, and then also research and learn. There's so many free videos out there. It's insane that will teach you how to market your YouTube channel. And it's going into other YouTube channels that have the same niche as you, or niche, however you say that, and commenting on them, and not saying, hey, come follow my channel. Everyone follow my channel. But you're part of the community. You're investing your time and energy to help and serve, and it will come full circle. And then another one that I listen to a lot is, her name is Vanessa Lau. She's on YouTube as well, and I love her content because she teaches the social media side, and also she speaks to entrepreneurs. So I never had this entrepreneurial, however you say that word. Okay, just go with me, guys.
You nailed it.
I never had that mindset. However, with kind of my beginning with VIPKid, and as I got into recruiting, I started thinking of the business and the brand side, and that's when I kind of started thinking this way. And she helps you with so many things: how to build your email list, how to market from Instagram. So if you want to, say you have an Instagram account and you're not quite sure how to monetize on it, how can I create like a following, and then turn that following into clients or coaching clients that I can teach what my expertise is, and whether that's, maybe you have been a teacher for a while and you want to coach others on getting their bookings, and so you'll charge maybe $20 an hour or $50 an hour, whatever. You got to choose your price, but you can have clients and kind of a service-based business there. There's so many ways that you can market your skills online. Another one, my girl crush I was telling you, Michael, about is Amy Porterfield, and I'll wrap up with her because I can just talk about her forever. But she has a podcast, and she teaches how to create digital courses. She teaches about list building. So I didn't know about email list building, and maybe you do this. Michael, do you have an email list? Because I did not.
I don't know.
Okay, so I was you. Yep. I just barely started maybe 2 months ago, and I wish that I had started earlier. So if you are trying to build a brand and a following, I think it's so important to realize the importance of the email list. And I didn't at first. I was like, it's okay. People see me on YouTube, people see me on Instagram. But then when I thought, okay, when I'm going to sell my course, I'm selling it in January, I thought, well, a lot of them are going to miss it when I post it on Instagram. They might not see my message, or when I post it on YouTube, they might not be notified. But how often do you check your email box, right, Michael? How often do we check it?
Too much.
Yes, yes. So I figured, okay, I do need to start building this email list. And she said that's the only thing she regretted, is not starting her email list sooner. So the way you do it is you just offer a freebie. So mine's a free download. I have 3 of them. I have a free application process props, and that was something that my referrals always asked me. Do you have props for the application process? Yep, all of them right here in one file, and I give those to anyone that wants them, and in exchange for their email. So when I get their email, then I have their contact, and I can let them know when I have new products or whatnot. And then the other one I have is like a classroom setup guide, and that one also came from my referrals. It was something that I was frequently asked about. Where did you get your lamp? Where did you get your desk? Where did you get your backdrop? All those questions all compiled into one PDF, and then or ebook, whatever you want to call it. And then the third one, the one that is my other market, is for branding and business and coaching other ESL teachers how to recruit, and it's called the 5 Steps to Start Recruiting. So those are my freebies, and I learned that all from Amy Porterfield. Love her.
I love that. So, I mean, you just dropped a whole bunch of knowledge on us, a bunch of great resources there. I want to take a minute and just unpack some of that because it may be a little bit dense or a little bit overwhelming for someone who's just walking into this world of trying to build a personal brand or an online business or something. And I'm actually going to refer to a couple of questions. I just asked people on Instagram if they had any questions for you. And 2 of them that come to mind that are relevant to what you were just talking about. Number one is, who was your first referral, and how did you get your first referral? And then someone else had a question of like, if you were starting today, trying to build a business around you as a teacher, what are the first three things that you would focus on? So why don't we start with the first referral one first?
Okay, so my first referral, I actually have no idea. I would have to go back into my file because into my referral tracker. We don't have time right now, but with my first referral, like I think my first year, I maybe had five in the whole year. I think it was like just telling friends, like it would come up in conversation. I'd say, "Hey, yeah, I work for this company, VIPKid, and this is what it is." And so if they were interested, I'd say, "Oh, yeah, I can send you. I think I have a referral link." Like I did not put any time or energy. It would come up every once in a while. And so I think I had five in there. And so I don't know who my first referral was, but I remember every single referral in my first year or two, I held their hands. I just did everything with them. I Skyped everything with them. I did Zoom sessions with them because I was really learning how it feels to go through the process over and over and over again. And I was learning what they needed and how I could better serve them. And that's how I was able to create a system that I now use that has videos, it has a website, it has walkthroughs, everything that's a lot more hands off. So I can coach my referrals without being in person live with them, holding their hand, but I'm still there holding their hand and supporting them. Okay, does that answer the first question, even though I don't know who it was?
No, it totally does.
The second question, so if you're starting off, the first three things, I actually have a system that I'm teaching in January. I'll have a master class and I'll dive really deep into the first step. I call it connection. So, the first step with connecting, when you're first starting out, you have to make that connection. So, people aren't going to be coming to you unless you put something out there that lets them know what you're doing. So, the first step is twofold. You have to be building your brand and system. And the way that I teach that is through YouTube. So I would be uploading a consistent video once a week that would be sharing my experience, sharing what I'm doing. And that just puts information out in the web that maybe a year or two later, people are going to find you and come to you. So in my system, I teach how to first you make the connections, but while you're still building a system that eventually you won't be having to make the connections, they'll be coming to you. And then,
And I think so. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I think one thing to highlight here, and something that you've done really well, is in that content that you are creating and putting on YouTube. I noticed this from you very consistently, is that it's always focused on service, like some sort of service to others, or trying to help the person on the other end. It's not like sometimes you see videos that are like, oh, I see what's in it for you as the creator of the video. You're trying to take from people, but my experience and what I see you do really effectively is that you're always giving more than you're trying to take from the audience, and I think that's a really effective approach when you are starting to create videos. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, that's a huge compliment because that definitely has always been my goal. I think I can always justify purchasing a course that's $1,000 to learn about XYZ. I can always justify it thinking, how can I pay this forward? Once I have this knowledge and skill set, how can I teach others how to do it? And specifically in the online teaching world, in those teaching ESL online. So that's really kind of you to say that because it always has been my goal is to serve. And I think that people see that. If you're just out there to get referrals and to get the money, nobody's attracted to that. It has to first come from a place of you want to serve, you want to help. And I think when you give a lot, you'll get a lot in return. But you definitely have to have a deeper why than just the money, because you won't just like make one video on YouTube and then people just start rolling in.
So true. So true.
That's not how it works. Not how it works at all. Definitely not how it works. But with making those connections, when you're initially finding people, I know that a lot of people will tell their family. I always say those close circles. So you hit those first, telling your family. I went to like my Facebook and I contacted all of my teaching contacts. So I had lived in 3 states and I've taught it for like 3 different school districts. So I had a lot of contacts that I could just say, hey, I first started with, how are you doing? And I didn't want to sell right out of the gate. I just wanted to say, hey, I wanted to let you know I am teaching for a company online and this is the pay. And I thought that maybe it would be a good fit for you to maybe supplement while you're teaching, or maybe if you're planning on staying home in the coming year, just let me know. I love it and I'd love to help you out. But I totally left it up to them. And I've had teachers where I reached out 2 years ago, and then they jump on 2 years later. Like it's the timing for them. I'm never pressing on them, hey, you have to join now. And a lot of teachers, when they start recruiting, get frustrated because you'll have so many people pending. It's
Mm.
like, how do I get these pending through? How do I get them through? And I say, you just get more people in your system, and those that want to start teaching will start teaching when they want to. And I also do one more thing. I know I just can talk about this forever.
No, I love it.
But I was going to say one more thing I do is, and you learn to reach out to those in your system and let them know when are high times for bookings. So I would reach out to those that maybe signed up for basic info and they've done nothing else. And I tell them, okay, it's back to school time in September. Bookings are going to be higher. And then, or I will say the holiday season, the American holidays. So we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those are really high times for booking. And then I'll tell them, hey, February is really low. You're not going to see any bookings. I'm always honest. But March, you're going to see a ton because students are back from Chinese New Year. And so I just am always honest about the time of year. Another low time is the summer. So I tell them just this time, learn your skill set, do the workshops, and then in September, you can start teaching. So I'll send those emails to those that are pending just to keep them updated and educate them on kind of what it's like and when's a good time to jump in. But that's what I would say. Just make those contacts with your family, with your friends. And then maybe a third one could be you could reach out on I found a lot through school districts, and this is something I teach in that free PDF, the 5 steps to start recruiting. I called up the school districts, asked them if I could send a flyer to their teachers for a supplemental income opportunity, and they were all down for it. I was like, sweet. So I didn't have access to their email, but they came to me. So it was great. I would just send a flyer that had my email on there and say, contact me if you're interested.
Right. And just to clarify, I mean, there is a little bit of that element of if you build it, they will come, like that mentality. So
Yes.
just to clarify for people, like when you're saying put stuff on YouTube, it is like, I guess this is something that I had always heard people talk about. Yeah, I make money on YouTube, and it's lead generation, and it brings people from here over to this place. So basically, when you create a video that is like trying to help other teachers, you just pop your email or your referral code or something like that in the description of the video. Would that be accurate to say?
Yeah, and definitely I had to learn that because at first I would just say, I'm an MCM and I do interviews. And then I was like, oh, that's it. And I didn't leave any source of contact. And then I think after about 5 or 6 months, I was like, yeah, they don't know how to contact me because I was getting a lot of like Instagram messages, Facebook messages, which I still get, but they were like, I can't find your contact. How do I hope this is okay, which is fine. That's great. It's still, they came in contact with me. They found me, but I now, I take everything through my email. And the reason why is it simplifies it for me. So if someone sends me a message on Messenger, on Facebook, I'll say, I would love to help you out. Can you please email me? And I'll send you my resources and my guide. So then everything comes through my email. That way I have their email and I have everything in one place. Does that make sense on how I kind of
No,
do
makes total sense. That's great. I want to sidestep a little bit and sort of get into some classroom tactics, because I did have a really interesting question come through Instagram, and at first this is a question from one of my really good friends. I found out about VIPKid through his girlfriend, and at first I was like, is this a real question? And it is. So what his question was for you is, what do you do when you have like a bad student? Not a bad student like someone who's not performing well, but like someone who's misbehaving. He's like, do you keep it positive all the time? Because he was saying, I struggle with how to act with a student who's misbehaving. Like, do you reprimand them or discipline them, or are you always positive all the time in the class?
Oh, good question. So I feel as though when I was first starting, I probably saw more of the misbehavior or just kind of those issues. And I think it's because I was teaching a lot of students for the first time. They hadn't been at VIPKid for very long. There were trial classes. So I really never knew what to expect when I opened up that camera. So I feel like in the beginning stages, I really learned the the best tactics, because now I feel like my teaching now is mostly regulars. I teach the exact same students every single week because I get them on my schedule through the priority booking or through WeChat. So right now, I mean, I know their parents, I know their families. It's a much different dynamic than when you are teaching a ton of classes and to a ton of different students. So for those that are teaching just a variety of students, regulars, and then mixed in with new students. What I've always done is, if in class, I will say things. I'll call them out. I teach a lot of the older students, so I'll say, "Are you on your phone?" And they're immediately like, "She called me out." Or I'll say, "Are you working on something? Are you playing a game? Are you watching TV?" I can always tell. You can just tell in their eyes when they are like not paying attention. So, um,
Of course.
and that's
Yeah.
what I do with my older students. I'll just call them out and I'll say, "Hey, at the end, you can share with me what you were watching. Can you put it away, please?" And if they don't put it away, I always put it in the feedback, and I'll put the student's name, was working on something else during class. It was very difficult to keep them focused. And I'm always honest about those things. And the parents are like, "Oh, okay, we'll take care of that." And literally the next class didn't have it. Next class after that didn't have it. I don't know if they liked me, but they kept booking my class and didn't have the electronic. Now, with the younger students, usually the parent is there and you can just see in their eyes, like, "Thank you for trying to keep them entertained." Like, "Thank you, teacher." So I just think with the younger students, you just have to do your best to include props, items, movement. It's exhausting. The younger students, I get exhausted. And I think that's the best way. And also the communication with the parents. Let them know when it's a good class, celebrate the wins, and then also let them know if they were misbehaving, but in a positive way. Like, we could try this in the next class to make it a positive experience, but always be honest.
Right. I like that. And I think that's a very helpful answer. And I will send this episode to my friend.
He's gonna be like, "That answer was way too long. I
No,
had
no,
to fast
no.
forward."
I'm sure he's going to appreciate it. Um, so I do. Let's see. I'm just looking through the Instagram questions here. We've got another one that has to do with kind of the dynamic of having kids in the house. So the question is, do you teach when your kids are awake? And have you ever had them interrupt your class? And then what do you do?
Oh, yes. I love this question, because there's like a little bit of a controversy on what do you do? Because I've reached out to VIPKid and asked them, but they can't tell you exactly what you have to do as a contracted position. So, yes, my kids have been in my classroom. Does it happen often? No. So I've been here for 4 years, and I had a newborn a year and a half ago. So I've gone through those stages of maternity leave, coming back, and trying to figure out a schedule with a new baby and trying to teach. And my husband will be gone for 4 days, 5 days, 3 days. And so he's not always there because I teach consistently Monday through Friday. I just teach an hour in the morning now. It used to be 3, 4 hours. And then as I've geared it more towards recruiting, I do less teaching time. But when my child wakes up, say Ava wakes up, my toddler, and she's screaming, if it's the middle of the class, I just hold her on my lap until class is over, and then I take her back. And the crazy thing is, I have my students that I know, they even ask about Ava and Jack. Like, "Why aren't they here? They're sleeping." Don't wake them. We don't want them here. Listen, I have a student, Melody, that's like, "I really want to meet Ava. Can you go wake her up?" Like, our lessons, I don't think there's one lesson that does not include the name Ava in it, which is so funny. But I would say that if it's an emergency, I've brought them into my classroom, but I do not make it a regular thing. It's probably happened 6 times in the 4 years, so very rare. And if there's an occasion where my kids are having a hard time sleeping or their schedule's mixed up with teething or something, then I'll cut back my teaching because number one, I'm scared, like, what's going to happen? But number two, I don't feel like I have control over what's happening, and so that kind of just, I don't feel like I'm servicing my students the best or my children. So, and I'm at a place where I can cut back. And if you're not, you just kind of have to find a solution that works best for you. And maybe it's having your spouse come in and help.
Right. And so, yeah, that makes me curious about how you are dividing your time. Like, how much do you dedicate to teaching versus, you're also a brand ambassador for VIPKid. You're doing your personal coaching and your personal brand on the side of everything. Like, what does the pie look like for you? How is your time split up?
My time, my mornings are my tiger time. So I teach for an hour in the morning and then I immediately do emails for an hour. So the emails, that's where I do my coaching. So I've built this I've built this system where I have a website and I have all my resources that have video walkthroughs and materials for the application process. So my emails are usually, I'm interested in VIPKid. Could you help me out? Or I have this specific question, or they'll send me videos of them doing the application process, like their demo, certification class, and I'll give them personalized feedback. Now I do have help, and I didn't always have help. So I have 3 hired contracted positions that I have help with. So I have one, it's my sister-in-law. She helps me with emails because there's no way I was drowning. We were at a family vacation and I was drowning. I couldn't even enjoy it because I had so many emails. I couldn't cover them all. So she helps me with emails, those basic just questions and recruiting questions and all that good stuff. And then I have another one that helps me with my Facebook groups. She runs my Facebook groups because I could not be invested there. And I felt like I was doing a disservice to my referrals and also to the new teachers in my group. And then I have a third one that I just started a blog. And Michael, you and I had talked about how text is not our thing. Like, I'm totally with you with the video and audio.
Yeah.
That's my thing. And so I'm like, oh, to sit down and write is just really hard for me. So I was like, this definitely has to be a position that I hire someone else to do. So she has been doing a blog and just started that for me. But did I answer your question how divide it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So yes, I do the morning, and then also my husband is home, like I said, 3-4 days, so I can clock out like a film. I'll batch record my YouTube videos, and then I will like crank through editing. Usually my editing is late at night on the weekends when I don't teach the next day, but I'll edit videos in advance. So I try and stay ahead of it. So I'm not scrambling the night before, like I have to get a video up this week, but I already have it filmed and edited. And I actually learned this from that YouTuber. I said, Vanessa, she teaches you how to organize. She uses Asana. I started using it. It's a website that can organize your videos, and when it's completed, you can kind of mark it off. It's kind of like a to-do list, which is really nice. But yeah, mine's kind of all over the place. I wish I had a pie chart for you.
Well, that's good. It reminds me of, I mean, there's so many things there that like you seem to have figured out that you may not have known how to do, like, let's say 3 or 4 years ago. It reminds me of this book that I haven't read, but, you know, going back to not being a text person, I've listened to this person on podcast and talk about her book. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Everything is Figure Outable.
Marie Forleo. Yes, of course. Yes. I was
like,
going to say everything's figure outable. I was just waiting for the title.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of that like we are capable of figuring these things out. There's resources online on YouTube, there's blog posts, there's podcasts. So for anyone who's listening, who's just like, geez, I all of that sounds like Greek to me. I can't figure it out. Like, you know, I think you're a living testimonial that it is figure outable.
Yes, and you're telling me such good stuff as my daughter's banging on the door. I'm like tied to my computer with just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, she's joining. Well, I might just have to run her up to her dad because he had strict rules. Keep those babies upstairs. We're recording.
It's of course we're almost finished, so I can actually play a little bit of interlude music if you want to do that, and then we'll wrap up. It'll be like maybe just a couple minutes. Is that cool?
Yeah, well, she's fine. She's okay here to the side. But I wanted to comment on Marie's book because I haven't read it, and I want to because I think that it's very powerful to have access to the internet, to have access to so much information is overwhelming. But also, if you take it in the route that it's so helpful. Oh my goodness, she is going to be loud.
I love it.
Okay, I'm going to run her upstairs. Give me a hot second, okay?
Cue that interlude music.
Okay, I'm back.
You're back. No worries.
I'm out of breath now. It's so funny because I told Dave his job was make sure the kids don't come down. We're recording a podcast.
I mean, no time has passed in the podcast. That is the power of editing, which I love. So one last thing, or sort of one topic that I do want to cover off before we say goodbye here, is the idea of finding your voice online. I think that's something that I've certainly struggled with. You know, VIPKid related videos were not the first type of videos that I started making. So, excuse me. And it took me a little bit of time to like find a community that I could serve, going back to that idea of like, what can you do to help other people? So I'm wondering how you think about that and how long it kind of took for you to find your voice, your area of expertise, or that thing that you felt that you could offer to the world?
That's a great question. I think that it's just trial and error because when I first started making videos, I would do 3 a week. I would have a workout, I would have a teaching video, and then I'd have like a family vlog. And it took me forever to edit those family videos, and they were mostly for me rather than for everyone. But I came to find that there was a huge response for the teaching videos. And so I've always consistently uploaded those once a week. So I always upload a teaching video one time a week. And as I was doing like the workouts and stuff, I came to find that a lot of moms resonated with that content. And I actually came to the point where I thought, is this good for my brand? Do I need to split channels? Should I keep having the workouts in here? And so I asked the community, and I think that's a big thing that I've learned. And I think it was from Marie Forleo, or maybe it was Rachel Hollis. Both of those women I love listening to. But they talked about how it was Rachel Hollis. Now that I'm thinking of it, she said everything that they've created was for her, is how she says it. So it was for her audience. She would ask them, what do you guys like? What do you guys need? And take their feedback. And that's where she would gear the content. And so I've always thought, well, this is what I enjoy talking about. And that's kind of how my mindset was at first, is I'm going to do something I'm passionate about and I love first, because I don't know if anyone's going to watch this and it has to be worth my time. I have to be excited to do it. But then as I built an audience, I got a lot more feedback. And as I had people watching and listening, then I would get comments on YouTube. I'd get comments on Instagram. And that could really cater my content in a way where I was serving more. And my mindset kind of flipped, where this isn't for me. It is not the Nancy Taylor show. This is for those watching, those listening, and those that you're serving. And when that clicked in my mind, I feel like views went up. I feel like the videos had so much more purpose for my brand versus just for me to enjoy. But I enjoy them a lot more because I know that I'm helping a lot more people. But it definitely was trial and error. And I still will film workouts and I still will share my family videos, but mostly those that are catered towards the audience I know I'm talking to. And so that's become much more clear in my mind.
I love that. That's a great way to approach it. Now, one final thing. This is for real. This is the last question, and this is part of just my own curiosity, because we may share this a little bit in common as people who create videos for YouTube and walk around the house with a camera. I know for me at this side of things, my girlfriend loves to make fun of me and, use my little catchphrases and like, I'll see you on the internet. I wonder how your husband and your kids react to you with a camera in the household. Do they poke fun at you? Are they super supportive? Are they mimicking you? What does that look like for you?
Oh, this is good. So it's funny because my personality is very loud. It's very, yes, I want to film this. I want a picture of it. Let's document every experience and share it on the World Wide Web. And my husband is complete opposite. He is like, I don't need someone else like to watch it to give me value or to make me feel like it was worth my time. So he's very quiet. Like he'll be in my videos kind of on the side, but he's very quiet in the videos. He's never made fun of my catchphrases, but that's totally my family. They'll be like, I saw a video and you flash your hands out every time. And I'm like, yep, you gotta love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's totally my family. And if I watch a video with my family there, like my sisters and my brothers, they're just dying of laughter. And I'm like immediately embarrassed. But my husband's right there, like he's literally filming me. So I feel like he's an extension of myself. Like he's just totally there with me, always behind the scenes, but mostly he's there watching the kids or while I'm out doing a video, because just like you, I film myself. I have a tripod. I'm holding the video. I carry it with us on vacation. I'm like, hey, while you watch the kids, I'm going to go film a workout. And then also I'm going to film this content for a brand ambassador video at this cool location. And he's like, sure, go for it. And I always ask him like, is it okay? Is it okay if I do this? Yeah, go for it, Nan. So you never want to regret if you didn't try it. So he's always been a huge support, but it's true. I do get made fun of by my family, but not as much by my husband.
Well, that's good. That's good. Why don't we end on that note? Nancy, thank you so much. I'm really excited, really happy that we got to sit down and have this conversation today. And thank you for kicking off season 2 of the Extra Credit Podcast.
You got it. Thanks for having me. It was so fun. You're just fueling my podcast love. So this was awesome. I'm so glad that I got to be on it.
And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on episode 1 of season 2 of the Extra Credit Podcast. And of course, a big thank you goes out to Nancy Taylor. Thank you for taking some of the time today to share some of your knowledge with our audience. Again, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, if you'd like to follow me online, the best way to do that is to find me on Instagram. I am at teacher__Michael. Alternatively, you can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/MichaelVenn, VENN, just like the diagram. And I'm going to be back next Monday with episode 2 of the podcast. So I hope to see you then, or I hope for you to hear me then, because I won't actually see you. Anyway, I'm getting confused. It's time for me to sign off. Thanks so much for listening. And until the next time, have fun teaching. See ya!